Shit guys, the new PUP record is everything that I could have wanted it to be, and then so much more than that. You've probably noticed in these couple of days, if you've been paying attention to the stuff, that this record has a lot of hype. A lot of people have really liked it and have given it stellar reviews, and I'm just going to pile on to that hype train. This is their third full-length, and over the course of their career, they've really changed a lot in their sound. So I thought I'd take some time to recollect, think back, look upon their previous two releases, and then dive right into their newest one. I'm splitting this video up into segments, one segment per album, so if you want to jump ahead to the newest review or to any other specific review, I'm putting timestamps right here. So to not waste any more time, let's take a look at reviewing every album released by PUP. PUP formed in Toronto, Ontario back in 2010. Originally under the name Topanga, they changed their name to PUP in 2013, and have released a few EPs under the old name and 3 LPs under their current name. Speaking generally, PUP are one of the highest energy bands that I've ever heard. In 2014, they dropped their haze-drenched, self-titled debut album, PUP. Out of all genres, that debut album probably draws the most inspiration from a strong melodic, but very heavy post-punk. They add a bit of a harder emo vibe, maybe a little bit of a horror punk vibe, and a few songs dip into really folk metal territory, but in general, the debut album really ticks a lot of boxes that you'd expect from a great punk album. It's very fast, it's very energetic, and it's very hard. The mastering is almost perfect for this type of music, and several tracks really draw from a violent, screamo, almost sludge-inspired sound. Though despite all of this, looking at just that first record, I did, and still kind of do when looking back, see that early PUP as more of a metal-inspired band than a punk band. A lot of the pieces are there, but to me, the vibe at the core of the music never really completed that big gap between technically punk and, real punk. Though despite that album's great. The album packs absolute melodic noise tracks like Guilt Trip and Reservoir. Similarly, songs like Maboo and Never Trip keep the energy up while taking the tempo down a little, creating a sort of sing-along hard rock type of thing. Yukon is a 5-minute, folky, kind of show-tuney track. Songs like Dark Days are that quintessential pop-punky inspired emo, but with lots of strength and grounding those harder elements to their sound. And the last of the tracks take different takes on that post-punk high-energy sound. If you wanted a letter score for that one, I'd probably give it a B-. I think that the biggest detriment to it is definitely its length. Or maybe more accurately, the length of some of the songs. It's no secret that fans of punk rock generally like short songs, or if songs are long, they like them to have multiple acts, different changes in structure, or something to keep the interest going, rather than just the same verses and choruses repeated throughout, or the same verses and choruses stretched out to be longer. And unfortunately to me, while it's still a great album, the debut self-titled does fall victim to the too many songs are simply too long problem. Though if you come from an emo or hard rock background rather than a punk background, that will probably be much less of a problem for you. Not long after I got into PUP, they released their second full-length album, The Dream Is Over, and that definitely solidified my affection for this band. To me, PUP definitely found their sound on their second LP. The first track draws you in with a really acoustic-driven, sort of emo vibe, before absolutely blasting you away with incredibly catchy melody, before flying into the second track, DVP, a song which switches between pelting you with this really bubbly but harsh guitar sound, and sing-along whoopy, harmonized vocals, with that harsh bullet drumming keeping the tempo. All in all, this song just harnesses so much intensity that, if you want to call this a pop-punk song, it's one of the hardest, most intense pop-punk songs ever written. Doubts then pulls you into PUP's more moodier, atmospheric side again. Songs like this that made me originally classify PUP as an emo rock band. Their songs can be so catchy but have such a heavy, feelable atmosphere about them. Sleep in the Heat has an escape punk quality to it, with the melody really jumping around, bouncing, dancing everywhere. Though it's held together with a really poppy chorus melody through-line, and some millennial whoa-oh-oh. I should probably hate the song because it's a lot like so much music that I dislike, but the energy they built and managed to maintain really meld the energy of the song into the whole energy of the entire album, creating something a lot more than the sum of this part. The Coast is a powerful, hardcore, tinged emo track. And Old Wounds has the speed, the distortion, the intensity of hardcore, just drawing on its best parts while not totally giving itself to the genre entirely, and still maintaining that melodic focus. As far as I'm concerned, My Life Is Over and I Couldn't Be Happier is a modern pop-punk classic. And I Can't Win drags it back down to a more hardcore-infused thing, but with a lot more of the sing-along melody taking it back. With its bubbly bass and peak distortion, Familiar Patterns is probably my favorite song on that record. I haze really reaches its peak, and this song is pretty much, to me, the launching pad for what would happen in the next record. And Pine Point plays a similar trick as Yukon, but I think it does it just a little more, leaning a lot more into the contemporary emo thing. All in all, The Dream Is Over is a great record. If you wanted me to give it a letter score, I'd give it a B. All in all, it really is one of those records that's really difficult to talk about because I could go through, break it down, talk about every aspect on its own, but I probably wouldn't be able to communicate what makes it so special. You could probably point to different bands with these aspects used in similar ways that are very generic or not as special, and you just ask, well, they're not so special there, so what makes it so good here? What makes PUP make it so good? And I don't have a really great answer for that, except as cliched as it sounds, it really is greater than the sum of its parts. To me, it really is just that PUP bashes together these elements. They combine them so fiercely, so dedicatedly, that the sheer conviction of it mounds it together into something new and something deeply enjoyable. To me, it really is just that PUP bashes together these elements. They combine them so fiercely, so dedicatedly, that the sheer conviction of it mounds it together into something new and something deeply enjoyable. It's music that wouldn't work so well on paper, but it's the personality of the band and their energy, their conviction that makes it work. So needless to say, up to this point, I was very enthusiastic about PUP. I enjoyed everything that they'd released. I was a little worried because there was some concern that The Dream Is Over might have been their last record. Thankfully, they pulled through their hardships, the difficulty with the vocalist and his vocals, and came back for another record. Because just the other day, they released their newest record, Morbid Stuff. Now, as I already alluded, I'm absolutely in love with this record. It superseded everything that I could have expected and hoped for, and it's my favorite PUP record to date. The title do end with a noticeable change in vibe compared to their previous records. The melodic focus is even stronger than ever, but they're leaning really heavily back into the sing-along element as well. But the bubbling bass, the specific flavor of instrumental harmony, and great cooperation really increased communication, I guess, between instrumentalists here, and the specific style of drumming really bring the track closer than ever to the pop-punk styling. The song closes out on an acoustic flashback to the more emo stuff. Kids, the second track, ramps up the bass section to probably the most satisfying that the band's ever produced. The vocalist speaks in that rambly, hardcore way. And as the vocalist takes over the song and it keeps building with the melody, the woes, the harmony, it becomes so suddenly, so overwhelmingly and unexpectedly pop-punk. And I know pop-punk is usually some sort of insult for hardcore fans, but I mean it in absolutely the best way possible. Kids is an earworm. It's a kind of song that makes you just want to dance along. And all in all, in the end, it's just super, super satisfying. It also has some of my favorite lyrics in a PUP song. I know I don't usually get too wrapped up in lyrics. It's not the most important part of music to me. I always emphasize the music itself over the lyrics, but I really like them here, and something I never talk about, the music video for the song is great. Free at Last is so dance punk with its bass bubbling, pushing forward, the sardonic lyrics, the light guitar fluttering forward, the guitar line in the second verse moving up and down so quickly. That specific piece of guitar work is so satisfying. Just a little bit of that surf punk finesse and speed. See You at Your Funeral has one of those very cliched, kind of generic melodies to it, but building off of the energy infused from the previous songs and the upcoming songs, it keeps the momentum going nice and is an enjoyable sort of breather, lighter track. Scorpion Hill starts with an acoustic emo-y flashback and keeps building as it goes. Draws on that really bubbly, soaring guitar work and pop-punk anthem chorus. The hazy, high, sharp guitar work in Closure is a perfect example of the type of guitar work that I love out of punk, especially out of a pop-punk style. The bubbling bass is back in full swing, and the song just makes me want to move, even though it has nothing to do with surf punk. It just instills the same energy and enthusiasm in me. This sharp, high, bubbly guitar just doesn't stop. Bloody Mary-Kate and Ashley brings back that sort of skate-punky swinging to the melody structure, making a stranger, more punky track overall. It has just a little bit of that bar rock quality to it, just with the melody, but the shredding haze that slowly builds before exploding in the last third or so of the song makes the song, if nothing else, therapeutic. Sibling Rivalry is fucking awesome. After a few listens, I dare you to not scream along to the song. It has a sort of taunting quality to it, like a lot of middle-era Blink-182, but the beat and tempo-driven verses, pounding with the bass while the guitar is screaming behind it. I guess the thing I'm getting at here is something that's on the entire album but is perfectly exemplified in this song. All of these little parts come together to create something with such a sharp hook that it digs into your brain like a punky earworm. I'm not an earworm guy. Songs don't do this to me normally. But the song just begs to be listened to on repeat. I listened to it on repeat since it was released as a single, and I can't stop listening to it. It's at both times satisfying and creates just enough hunger to make you want more. I think the last song that did this to me was Trailer Trash by McCafferty. The single would have been spring 2017, so it's literally been the first earworm I've had in 2 years. So I guess take that as a seal of approval. On Full Blown Meltdown, PUP finally earned their legitimate hardcore wings. It's definitely a sound that they've drawn on a lot in their previous work, but to me, finally, this is their first legitimate 100% hardcore song. With the absolute noise of production, with the vocalists singing just a little bit off-tempo, very loudly, very distortedly in the background of the track. The lyrics, the attitude in this song. I'm not sure 100% of the time if PUP qualify as a punk band, but this is a punk song. Bare Hands a slower tempo, but it has an absolutely off-the-walls, all-over-the-place guitar line going through, getting sharp, getting fast, and bubbly once again. Even though it's a poppier song, it's the perfect song to follow up Full Blown Meltdown, just a little bit off-kilter, just a little bit distorted from the generic roots that it's obviously inspired by, making it, like so much of the rest of this album, just good. And finally, City is one of those great, slow and quiet for most of the track until it gets loud and distorted and fucked up at the end of songs. Morbid Stuff is a great album. I know that I usually try to be a little more, dignified than this. I think it deserves it. This album has me so infatuated that I know I'm not thinking completely clearly about it, but an album that gets me so excited and enthusiastic, so in love with punk again, doesn't come along that often. I'm just riding this high, enjoying it, and I wanted to share some of that with you. So if any of this intrigues you, I hope you go out and check out the band. I know that this is all coming from a hyper fan. I'm being a hyper fan right now. So try to lower your expectations a little compared to what I've given. Don't expect the best albums ever written. I still love these. I give Morbid Stuff a B+ easily, but still don't expect that high of stuff. Just try to go into it, give it a fair chance, open mind, and see where it takes you. And all in all, that's my video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you dislike it, leave a dislike. If you listen to the record, I want to know what you think of it. Leave a comment. I have my social media links in the description, and I hope I get to rant to you in a future music video. Have a great day.